Introduction. The red pill space is filled with scattered ideas, long forum threads, emotional rants, and conflicting interpretations. Terms get thrown around without structure. Concepts get misunderstood. Men repeat phrases they barely understand. What most men need is not more noise, they need a framework. This book walks through the core concepts and dynamics that repeatedly show up in male-female psychology, attraction, status, and social strategy. These are not random buzzwords. They are interconnected principles that shape behavior, perception, and outcomes. We will go through key terms such as SMV, peak SMV, and the female wall, passport bro dynamics, shit tests and frame, IOAs and Kino, push/pull, outcome independence, preselection, hypergamy, Briffault's law, female solipsism, hamstering, attention as currency, monk mode, and more. Each concept builds on the others. You will see how fitness increases SMV, how frame controls social interactions, how abundance mindset prevents overinvestment, how mystery fuels attraction, how outcome independence strengthens your presence, how attention functions as leverage. The goal is not to memorize terminology. The goal is to internalize structure. Attraction is not magic. It is not luck. It is not random. It is patterns, psychology, perception, and positioning. This book condenses the core dynamics into a system you can understand and apply. If you like my work, you can reach out to me at burnoutmail@gmail.com. SMV, Sexual Market Value. One of the most effective ways to increase your SMV is to exercise consistently and get lean. This single change alone often produces immediate, noticeable results. People tend to treat you better, respond more positively, and take you more seriously when you are visibly fit and healthy. If you are financially unstable in your 20s or 30s, the priority should be making a long-term commitment to improving your financial position. There is no shame in blue-collar work. In many cases, skilled trades and technical professions can earn as much as or more than traditional white-collar jobs. What matters is competence, reliability, and upward momentum. In addition to income, it is wise to develop the habit of investing in hard or productive assets. This may include property, stocks or index funds, precious metals such as gold or silver, digital assets such as cryptocurrency. A common principle is to invest during downturns rather than at market peaks. Buying when assets are undervalued rather than chasing hype at all-time highs is a discipline that compounds over time. Remember to maintain a long-term outlook. Consistent yearly investing over a period of 5 to 10 years can result in significant net worth growth if done correctly. However, SMV is not purely about self-improvement in isolation. A man can be wealthy, fit, charismatic, and well-groomed, yet see little benefit if he never places himself into social environments where interaction is possible. Just as in business, a good product is useless without distribution. Once you have begun building your SMV, you still need to take yourself to market. This can happen through mutual friends and social circles, dating apps, social events and gatherings, hobbies, classes, or group activities, casual repeated interactions such as seeing the same person regularly at a cafe or gym. Bars and nightlife environments exist, but they are often less ideal compared to social settings built around shared interests or familiarity. The underlying requirement is simple: you must be visible. SMV only translates into results when you are willing to put yourself in situations where interaction can occur. Peak SMV and the female wall. In general, a man's peak SMV tends to arrive later in life because male attractiveness is largely built. It is constructed through competence, status, resources, physical development, social proof, emotional control, and life experience. A 21-year-old man rarely commands the same presence as a 35-year-old man who has built himself. Male value compounds. Female attractiveness functions differently. A woman's peak desirability, on average, tends to occur earlier. Beauty, fertility cues, and youth are front-loaded advantages. Many women are at their most broadly desired in their early 20s. That does not mean women cannot be attractive later. Many women in their 30s look better than they did at 22 due to fitness, style, confidence, and maturity. But market dynamics matter. Across large populations, men tend to prioritize youth and physical attractiveness more heavily. Women tend to prioritize stability, confidence, and competence more heavily. This creates an asymmetry in timing. A man often grows into his value, a woman often begins with hers. The concept of the wall is often misunderstood and exaggerated. It is not a sudden collapse. It is not a cliff at 30. It is gradual. For some women, approaching their late 20s and early 30s brings a noticeable shift. Less random attention, less automatic validation, more competition from younger women, more pressure regarding long-term decisions. For women whose identity was built heavily around beauty and attention, this shift can feel dramatic. Not because they are suddenly unattractive, but because attention is no longer effortless. The real issue is not age. The real issue is identity investment. If a woman invests in beauty alone, aging feels threatening. If a man invests in nothing early in life, his 20s can feel invisible. The strongest position for either sex is to build. Men should use their 20s to build physique, skill, network, discipline, and financial base. By their mid-30s, they can enter their strongest SMV phase if they've done the work. Women who invest in health, femininity, emotional intelligence, and long-term partnership strategy often maintain strong desirability well into their 30s and beyond. Peak SMV is not just biology, it is preparation meeting timing, and timing rewards those who built something before they needed it. Passport Bro. Passport Bro refers to leveraging your nationality, financial position, or cultural background in a different country to increase your perceived value. It is essentially a form of arbitrage. Just like financial arbitrage takes advantage of price differences between markets, dating arbitrage takes advantage of perception differences between countries. Your SMV can increase simply because you are perceived as higher value in that environment. That higher perception could come from your nationality, your ethnicity, your accent, your passport, your financial standing, your lifestyle, relative to the local economy. In some cultures, Western men, especially Europeans or Americans, are associated with wealth, status, opportunity, or even a specific beauty standard. That perception alone can elevate how you are treated. This does not mean you become someone different. It means the market changes. A man who feels average in one country may be seen as high value in another because of economic differences, cultural preferences, or novelty. However, this should not replace self-improvement. Geographic arbitrage can amplify value, but it does not create it from nothing. If you lack confidence, social skills, or direction, those weaknesses travel with you. Going overseas can improve your dating options, but it should be a strategy layered on top of personal development, not a substitute for it. Different markets reward different traits. Understanding that is leverage. Abusing that is short-term thinking. Used correctly, it is simply strategic positioning. Shit tests and frame. People will test you in business, relationships, friendships, and even within family dynamics. Shit tests are commonly used to assess your confidence, emotional control, and overall frame. Through these tests, others subconsciously gauge where you stand within the social hierarchy and how much respect or leverage they can expect when interacting with you. Shit tests are used to assess a man's frame. Frame refers to composure, emotional control, and the ability to remain grounded under pressure. A useful way to visualize frame is to imagine yourself as a painting displayed in a gallery. The painting is held upright and presentable by its frame. Remove the frame, and the canvas bends, collapses, and falls to the floor. Without structure, the image loses its shape and integrity. Psychologically, this is what happens when a man loses frame. Folding under pressure symbolically represents losing control and giving up. The term mirrors poker, where folding means surrendering the hand rather than staying in the game. When faced with a shit test, maintaining composure is the primary objective. If you remain calm, appear unfazed, or calmly assert your boundaries, the test is generally considered passed. Your behavior signals confidence, emotional stability, and self-respect. Conversely, if you become upset, defensive, offended, insecure, or visibly shaken, the test is considered failed. Any obvious display of weakness, self-doubt, or emotional loss of control communicates a lack of frame. The conclusion is straightforward. Passing shit tests increases perceived social value. Failing shit tests decreases perceived social value. Men who consistently pass these tests tend to gain respect, social acceptance, and influence. Those who repeatedly fail them risk becoming marginalized, insecure, and socially disregarded. Passing shit tests. There are multiple methods that can be used to pass a shit test. Passing a shit test means responding in a way that either neutralizes the challenge or causes the other person to perceive you as confident, grounded, and socially competent. Before outlining specific methods, an important clarification is necessary on agree and amplify. Agree and amplify is often treated as the default response to shit tests. It is effective for humor and light teasing, but it is context dependent. Used improperly, especially in tense or confrontational situations, it can escalate rather than diffuse conflict. Not all shit test responses are interchangeable. The correct approach depends on context, the emotional state of the other person, power dynamics, the potential for escalation. Common sense and calibration matter more than memorizing lines. Example, scenario. You approach a woman and open a conversation. She responds with, "I bet you use that line on all the girls." This is a classic shit test. Below are several valid ways to respond. Agree and amplify. Agree and amplify relies on exaggeration to make the accusation absurd. The goal is to signal that you are unbothered and playful. Example, yes, it's so effective it should come with a warning label. Disagree and amplify. This method rejects the premise while still exaggerating for humor. Example, no, you're actually the first person I've ever spoken to. Pressure flip. A pressure flip redirects the social pressure back onto the person testing you. Example, you sound like someone who assumes everyone has an agenda. Agree and pressure flip. You briefly agree before reversing the pressure. Example, yeah, I do. You look like you've heard that before. Disagree and pressure flip. You reject the premise and apply pressure simultaneously. Example, no, if I had a script, you wouldn't be getting this version. Ignore. Ignoring a shit test means offering no acknowledgement at all. This can be effective once your position or social value is already established. Early on, it can come across as awkward or dismissive. Ignoring implies that the comment was not important enough to warrant a response. This method is best used on people with lower social leverage, when the test itself is trivial, when maintaining indifference is advantageous. Misdirect. Misdirection involves changing the topic entirely, invalidating the test by refusing to engage with it. Example, by the way, how long have you been waiting here? This works best on people who are easily distracted. There is a chance of being retested, so it should be used selectively. Ridicule reframe. This is an aggressive method used to knock highly ego-driven individuals off a pedestal. It is not appropriate for timid or highly sensitive people and is better suited for banter among confident personalities. This style requires strong calibration. When used incorrectly, it can shut down attraction rather than build it. Pseudo-gaslight. Pseudo-gaslighting involves acting as though the test makes no sense and subtly implying that the tester is inventing meaning. Example, what line are you talking about? This method works by refusing the premise entirely without emotional investment. Key takeaway. There is no universal response that works in every situation. Passing shit tests requires emotional control, context awareness, the ability to remain relaxed under scrutiny. Mastery comes from understanding why a response works, not memorizing what to say. One common shit test is when a girl asks how many women you've slept with. Never give her a direct number. Instead, respond with something light and funny like 0, I'm a virgin, and move the conversation forward. Fitness. The highest ROI for male SMV. Fitness is one of the top priorities a man can pursue to increase his SMV and overall mating potential. Unlike money, status, or social skills, fitness is mostly under your direct control. It also has a unique advantage. It changes your appearance, your confidence, your discipline, your energy, and your presence, all at the same time. First principles, the 90% everyone agrees on. Fitness and weightlifting can become controversial once you get deep into the weeds. So let's start with first-order principles, the fundamentals that 90% plus of the fitness world agrees on. Consistency beats everything. If you want results, you must train consistently for months on end. Not days, not weeks, months. This is the real filter. Most men quit before their body has a chance to change. Calories, the base layer of all progress. Whether your goal is gaining muscle, losing fat, or maintaining your current physique, calorie intake is the foundation. A simple and effective method is use a daily calorie expenditure calculator, TDEE. Eat according to your goal. Adjust based on real results. If you aren't gaining weight when you want to gain, you need more calories. Try increments of 200 calories. If you aren't losing weight when you want to cut, you need fewer calories. There are about 3,500 calories in 1 pound of body fat, so you'd need to burn that much to lose 1 pound. Try not to lose more than 2 pounds per week when cutting, or gain more than that when bulking. Slow and steady is better. Track your weight. Most men sabotage themselves by tracking inconsistently. A solid system is simple. Weigh yourself consistently. Same conditions each time. Example, Monday morning, fasted and naked. Then use the mirror as a secondary check. The scale gives you data. The mirror gives you the truth. Progressive overload, the growth trigger. If you want muscle growth, you must progressively overload. That does not mean destroying yourself every workout. Progressive overload can be 1 extra rep, 1 extra set, a small increase in weight, better technique at the same weight. Small improvements, repeated weekly, force adaptation. Technique and form. Good form protects your joints and ensures the target muscle is doing the work. Flexibility and mobility. Stretching matters. You can have your own routine or go to stretching classes. Pilates, yoga, mobility training. Sleep. Sleep is not optional. Sleep is where recovery happens, and recovery is where growth happens. Diet. High protein and whole foods. Diet should be high in protein and mostly based on whole foods. A simple rule, if it has a long ingredient label, it's probably processed. If it has only a few ingredients, it's usually better. Most packaged foods are engineered to be addictive and calorie-dense. Universal truths. These principles are almost always true. Consistency produces progress. Calories determine weight change. Progressive overload builds muscle. Technique prevents injury. Mobility keeps you functional. Sleep accelerates recovery. Protein supports muscle and satiety. Whole foods beat processed foods. This is the foundation. Everything else is just details. My opinion, bulking is often a mistake. Now for my personal opinion. I believe bulking is often a mistake for most men. Instead, cutting or recomping while maintaining a relatively stable weight is usually a better strategy. Most men who bulk gain too much fat, lose definition, lose momentum, end up spending months cutting back down. A lean, athletic physique year-round is more attractive than being strong but soft. My weekly training split. I train each muscle group once per week. My routine is simple and aesthetic-focused. I lift heavy, so I'm usually gassed out by the end. My split looks like this: chest day, arm day, back day, stretching classes on the other days. I focus on the muscles that visually matter most. My rep scheme. My standard approach. 3 sets, 8 to 12 reps. The rep count depends on the goal. If I'm increasing weight, I allow myself some flexibility. The point is progress over time, not perfection. My main exercises: chest, upper chest movement, dip machine, chest flies, arms/shoulders, variation of bicep exercises, lateral raises, machine preferred, back, lat pull-downs, rows, rear delts, shrugs, high protein foods that are low calorie, some of the best protein sources for staying lean, cottage cheese, low fat, Greek yogurt, low fat, chicken breast, lean cuts of meat. These foods make it easier to hit protein targets without overeating. For my other macros, I get my carbs from rye bread and potatoes, and I get my fats from cooking with butter and olive oil. Closing: keep it simple. Train consistently, don't overtrain, eat well, sleep, stay hydrated, use proper form, track progress, and be patient. Frame a further explanation. Your frame is your principles, beliefs, expectations of others, intentions, values, and overall mindset. Maintaining frame means not letting other people impose their frame on you. In other words, you stick to your guns. You do not give in to peer pressure that tries to push you into acting against your own standards. A man with strong frame holds people to clear boundaries, keeps people accountable, does not allow outside influences to affect his self-image or emotional state. Many people will go with the flow. They will agree with statements simply to fit in, avoid conflict, or avoid making waves. They invest their self-image in the opinions of others. Strong frame is the opposite of this. For example, someone mentions a band you do not like or have never heard of. A weak frame response is pretending you like them, or pretending you know the band, just to seem cool. A strong frame response is simply admitting you do not like them or have not heard of them, and owning it without caring if people think less of you for it. If people give you a hard time, you brush it off like it does not faze you. Over time, people tend to respect men who are not afraid to own who they really are and who are not obsessed with approval. Frame as a social construct, a more technical view. Many men misunderstand frame. Instead of presenting ideas of mutual seduction to a woman, they become overly rigid and performative. They try to act like a hard alpha while having low SMV, and instead of doing better with women, they lose friends and isolate themselves. A frame is a social idea or construct that a person holds. Examples include: a police officer expects compliance during an arrest. A store owner expects to be paid for the items in his store. An artist sees himself as the best artist in the world. A man believes being kind and supplicating is what women want. Some frames are supported and enforced by society. Some frames require a person to become socially isolated to maintain them. Some frames are simply incorrect, but are still held as social norms. Frame control is a person's ability, willpower, and determination to hold their frame. A criminal may believe he will never go back to prison, no matter what. A thief may believe he can take what he wants from a store without consequences. Another man may believe he is the best artist in the world. A woman may believe a sexy, smooth, dominant man is what she wants. When two people with conflicting frames encounter each other, somebody will hold frame and somebody will break. The criminal will be arrested, or he will evade capture. The thief will get away with the goods, or he will be caught and held accountable. One artist will be considered superior and the other will not. A man will be rejected by a woman, or he will take her home. To establish a frame, a person presents an idea and observes how it interacts with another person's frame. If they differ, one frame will break and the other will hold. If they align, the interaction will be smooth. IOIs and Kino. In terms of pure seduction and charm, this is one of the most important concepts you can ever learn. If you lack in this area, you will struggle to inspire lust in a woman, and you will miss opportunities to capitalize on the signal she is giving you. IO stands for indicators of interest. This is extremely important because IO give you a signal for what to do next. A woman will often give you an unspoken invitation to escalate. Some common IOs include hair flips, strong eye contact, catching her staring at you, smiling when you look at her, laughing more than necessary, standing closer than she needs to, finding reasons to stay near you, touching her hair, neck, or lips while talking to you, lip biting, sometimes, asking personal questions, remembering details about you, remembering who you are and bringing it up later. Some IOs are obvious and some are subtle. If a girl remembers who you are, that is usually a good sign. Women will also sometimes give mixed signals to see how invested you really are. Do not panic if she goes cold for a moment. The main thing is to hold frame. Frame will have its own chapter. Frame, in short, means not letting someone get to you mentally. IOs are an invitation to start flirting. Remember, the best flirting is not necessarily about what you say, it is about how you say it. Tone and body language are more important than the words themselves. Master these things. Kino. Next comes kino, which refers to physical touch. You have to read her first, then escalate gradually. At the beginning, the touch should be small and natural. For example, you might say, "Wow, I like your bracelet." If she is into you, she will often hold it up closer to you, which is basically an invitation for a small touch. A quick, light touch on her wrist is fine. By reading whether her reaction is positive or negative, you can gauge how much kino you should use from that point onward. Kino can include light touches, touching her wrist or hand, touching her upper back, hugs getting close to her, kissing. Start with charm, body language, tone, and playful words. Make her laugh, then escalate kino. This is one of the main ways attraction becomes real instead of staying stuck in conversation. The first kiss. The first kiss is a big moment because a lot of guys are terrified and lack experience. This is a quick guide that will help you deal with it. A common approach is the 90-10 rule. You lean in about 90% of the way, look at her lips, and see if she follows through with the last 10%. This makes the moment smoother and reduces the risk of awkwardness. The act of kissing is pretty simple. Less is more. There is no need for sloppy kissing. Take your time. Alternate between kissing her top and bottom lip, basically sandwiching them with both of our lips. Add pauses to let her kiss you back and respond in her own way. You can also mix in small pecks, kissing her cheek, kissing her neck. It is straightforward, but having a mental framework helps. This approach helped me, and it gives you a clear idea of what to do. If you want, you can also incorporate tongue naturally once the kiss is already comfortable. Push/pull method. The push/pull method is something many women respond to because for them, attraction feels like a dance. It is difficult to explain logically, but emotionally it makes sense. Women tend to enjoy a man who is not fully invested from the start, a man who gives attention, then withdraws it slightly, who shows interest, then returns to his own world. That rhythm creates tension. Push is light challenge, teasing, emotional distance, or reduced availability. Pull is warmth, validation, connection, and attention. The alternation between the two creates contrast, and contrast creates emotion. When something comes too easily, it loses intensity. Think about sports. If you win without effort, the victory feels empty. Think about fishing. If every cast automatically catches a fish, there is no thrill. Struggle increases perceived value. When attention is not guaranteed, it becomes meaningful. When connection feels like it could be lost, it feels more precious. The subtle threat of losing something often makes it more intoxicating. The key is not cruelty or manipulation, it is emotional pacing. If you are constantly available, constantly reassuring, constantly validating, there is no tension, no emotional spikes, no polarity. Push/pull works because it mirrors the natural rhythm of desire, closeness, distance, warmth, mystery. It creates an emotional experience rather than a predictable interaction. Attraction thrives in uncertainty more than certainty. That uncertainty, when controlled and calibrated, becomes the dance, assertive and bold. Being bold and confident is almost all you need. It doesn't matter as much what you say, but how you say it. Girls love it when a man is confident. You could be saying the dumbest thing in the world, but if it's said with confidence, girls will respect you. That's why the often dumb bad boy gets the girl. It's not always about intelligence. Women respect confident, assertive men. So when trying to attract a girl, don't forget to be assertive and confident. It's not about having the perfect line. It's about delivering whatever you say without hesitation, without seeking approval, and without second-guessing yourself. Be mysterious. A girl wants to uncover you layer by layer. If you reveal everything about yourself at once, there is nothing left to discover. You remove the sense of mystery, and mystery is part of what creates attraction. When someone feels like a puzzle, they become interesting. If you hand over your entire life story in the first few conversations, you eliminate that tension. You give away the ending before the story even begins. Do not tell her everything at once. Don't overshare your past, your future plans, your ambitions, your fears, or every detail about your daily life. Reveal things gradually. Let curiosity build naturally. Being mysterious does not mean being cold or robotic. It means pacing information. It means answering without over-explaining. It means allowing pauses and leaving some things unsaid. However, don't overdo it. If you become too distant, too vague, or too closed off, she may interpret it as lack of interest. Mystery should create intrigue, not confusion. The balance is simple. Say enough to connect. Withhold enough to intrigue. Attraction grows in curiosity. Wasting time. Overinvesting and wasting your time is one of the biggest mistakes a man can make. The more time you spend on a bad investment, the less time you have for better opportunities. Time is finite. Every minute you spend chasing someone who is not reciprocating is a minute you could be talking to a girl who actually shows interest. For example, you might meet a girl at a bar who is stuck up or standoffish. She gives short answers, she barely engages. Her body language is closed off, yet you continue trying, hoping something will change. That is wasted investment. If someone clearly does not respect you or show genuine interest, cut your losses. Do not sit there trying to win her over. Do not over-explain yourself. Do not double down on effort. Move on. Approach another girl. Over-investing often comes from scarcity. You convince yourself this is your only shot, so you keep pushing even when the signals are negative. Abundance changes that mindset. If she is using you for attention, free drinks, validation, or simply wasting your time, recognize it quickly. The sooner you detach, the more you preserve your value. Time is leverage. Spend it where it is respected. On-itis/spinning plates. It is inevitable for many guys to develop too much emotional investment in one girl. Sometimes it is not even a girl you have been in a real relationship with. It can be an obsessive crush that becomes debilitating and slowly spirals into depression. In the red pill community, this is called one-itis. On-itis is basically a way men simp for a girl. You act head over heels, and let's be real, it usually happens because she is beautiful and you are emotionally attached to the idea of her. Most men who fall into one-itis are dealing with low self-esteem, scarcity thinking, or a lack of options. The harsh truth is this: you can do everything perfectly, and that dream girl you found still might not be into you, no matter what. Even if you are rich, handsome, charming, fit, and doing everything right, she may simply not feel attraction toward you. That is reality. The way to combat one-itis is simple. You keep spinning plates. Spinning plates means that at all times you are talking to multiple women. You are not placing all your emotional investment into one person. Sure, some plates will fall and break, but that is part of the game. You have to be constantly flirting and maintaining multiple options, keeping as many women in your orbit as possible, and yes, inevitably, some will break. Even relationships and girlfriends are not always permanent. People change, feelings change, and situations change. If you build your entire emotional world around one person, you are setting yourself up to collapse if it ends. Another important way to combat one-itis is to adopt an abundance mentality. There are plenty of women out there. The moment you truly internalize that, one-itis becomes much harder to fall into. Absolutely, I kept your wording and intent as much as possible, but cleaned grammar, structure, and the parts that needed polishing so it reads like a real chapter section. Abundance and scarcity mentality. This is a simple rule. Learn to view life through abundance, not just women, but all aspects of life. Finance is one of the best examples. Not starting a business because there isn't enough money, taxes are too high, or competition is too tough often comes from a place of scarcity mindset instead of abundance. Another example is dating. Thinking, if I don't attract this woman, I will never have another chance because she is one in a million, is pure scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset also shows up in business decisions. Hiring the wrong person, tolerating bad partners, or making weak business deals often comes from the fear that you will not get another opportunity. That fear makes people accept low standards. By adopting an abundance mindset, you will naturally feel more relaxed. You will stop being overly affected by rejection or setbacks because deep down you know there will be another opportunity and often a better one. Pook's philosophy. Pook philosophy centers around mindset before mechanics. Everything begins in the mind. The battle is internal long before it is external. A man either sees himself as the prize or he sees himself as the pursuer begging for validation. That distinction alone determines his results. Girls like a challenge. Attraction grows in uncertainty and tension, not in predictability and reassurance. If you are too available, too agreeable, too eager, the dynamic collapses. Perfect is boring. Flawless behavior removes mystery. Mystery creates emotional engagement. Be the prize. That means your life does not revolve around women. You have a goal beyond them. Your mission, your fitness, your business, your growth. Women are a complement to your life, not the focus of it. When your goals come first, women often follow. That is how character develops. Not by chasing approval, but by chasing purpose. Embrace male sexuality. Testosterone makes you want to conquer, compete, build, and yes, pursue women. There is nothing wrong with that drive. Everything you need to know about attracting women is already embedded in your biology. High testosterone energy expresses itself through decisiveness, boldness, and forward movement. Suppressing it makes you timid. Channeling it makes you attractive. The Brad Pitt effect is masculinity combined with a touch of femininity, strength mixed with softness, edge mixed with charm. A man who is grounded in his masculinity but not rigid becomes magnetic. Boyish charm plays into this. Fun, playful, slightly mischievous energy disarms women and lowers resistance. Approaching women should be fun. If you treat it like a life or death evaluation, you will radiate tension. Rejection is better than regret. Failure is necessary for growth. Taking risks builds emotional resilience. Action dates, spontaneous moves, escalation, all of it requires boldness. A man who never risks, never evolves, never bore a woman. Emotional experience matters more than logical conversation. Tease, challenge, move the interaction somewhere new, break patterns. Comfort without excitement becomes friendship. Treat her like a little girl does not mean disrespect. It means playful dominance, light teasing, amusement, not overreacting to emotional swings. Charm comes from not taking everything seriously. Women are reflective. If you are happy and grounded, she mirrors it. Think of a child who falls down and pauses before deciding whether to cry or laugh. The reaction often depends on the adult's face. Women read your emotional cues in the same way. If you panic, she panics. If you smile, she relaxes. Men do not obsess over whether a girl wants them. They ask themselves whether they want her. That shift in evaluation flips the dynamic. You become the chooser, not the applicant. Dream big. Whatever standards you place on a woman, you must place on yourself. If you demand beauty, fitness, discipline, and loyalty, you must embody strength, discipline, direction, and value. The standards you impose externally must be matched internally. Think, and you shall become. Self-image drives behavior. If you see yourself as confident, you behave confidently. If you see yourself as rejected, you act rejected before anyone even says no. Everything starts in the mind. Escalation matters. All kino is sexual. Physical contact, even light and playful, carries undertones. Watch her facial expressions. Her body will tell you more than her words. Have a backup mindset. Scarcity creates desperation. Abundance creates calm. The greatest risk you can take in life is not to risk at all. Comfort zones kill momentum. Imitation is death. Develop your own frame. Extreme masculinity does not mean aggression, it means decisiveness. It means going for your goals and desires without apology. It means making your mission the priority. In the end, attraction is less about techniques and more about identity. A man who acts from his nature, who pursues growth, who embraces challenge, who accepts rejection as part of the process, becomes difficult to ignore. Women respond to that energy, and that energy is built from within. Bullet points for reference. Approach. Do not have desire, especially for those with approach anxiety. Rejection is better than regret. You are not her friend. Listen to actions, not words. Develop confidence as refined patience. Charm is treating women like little girls. Escalation, trust your gut. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Respect is everything. Be sexual in appearance and action. Project strength and imagination. Inner game. This is how you are all the time. As you think, you shall become. Unite dream and day. Always have a backup chick. The greatest risk in life is not to risk at all. Perfect is boring. Imitation is death. Extreme masculinity. Control testosterone. Do not be controlled by it. Reveal little about yourself. Apply the same high standards to yourself that you apply to your desires. Focus on having fun. Success is a habit. Once she is yours, accept your masculinity, enjoy her femininity, challenge indifference, punish disrespect, reward good behavior. Selected quotes. Prince Charming is not produced by confident thought. Confidence produces Prince Charming. To be successful in the world, you must first be successful in your mind. To be male is to drive against nature, to pierce her. Women do not see guys, they see worlds. Outcome independence. Outcome independence ties directly into abundance mindset. When you are outcome independent, you do not care if the date goes badly or if you experience a setback. You still try, you still show up, but you are not emotionally dependent on the result. By adopting this framework, you will feel at ease, and things will go more smoothly for you no matter what happens. Good news or bad news, it does not shake you because it does not control your state of mind. Being stoic and independent of outcomes is one of the best ways to become successful in life, both in dating and in finances and even in social dynamics. Plainly, you are independent no matter what the results are. No matter what happens, it will not affect your self-worth or your future goals in life. Sure, you might change your strategy, but your self-esteem is intact. Preselection, hypergamy, and the 80-20 dynamic. Preselection, hypergamy, and the 80-20 rule are very important concepts to understand. Together, they explain why dating feels so competitive, why some men seem to live in a different universe, and why the average man often feels invisible. These ideas are not hate, they are not bitterness, they are simply a framework. If you want to win a game, you have to understand how the game is actually played, not how people say it is played. Hypergamy, the constant upgrade instinct. Hypergamy is one of the most misunderstood terms in modern dating discussions. People hear it and assume it means women are evil, disloyal, or incapable of love. That is not the point. Hypergamy is better understood as an instinctive drive toward the best available option, not the best man in the world, the best man she can realistically access. This is why hypergamy is not a moral accusation, it is a behavioral pattern. It is the tendency to evaluate men through a lens of status, competence, strength, confidence, and future potential. This also explains why women are often more sensitive than men to social proof, leadership, ambition, dominance, especially calm dominance, competence, upward mobility, the respect a man receives from other men. Hypergamy is not only about money, it is about position. Money is just one visible indicator of position. A man with no money but high status can still trigger hypergamous attraction. A man with money but no backbone can still fail. Women are always scanning for the best potential mate they can get. This is hypergamy, and they can sometimes be willing to leave their current partner to do so. Hypergamy is not a woman being shallow. Hypergamy is a woman being a woman. Preselection. Preselection is what happens when a man becomes more attractive because other women want him. This is one of the most brutal realities for men because it destroys the fantasy that attraction is based purely on personality, kindness, or sincerity. Often women will compete with each other and fight over a man simply because other girls are interested in him. The attention from other women makes him seem more valuable, even if nothing about him has actually changed. Preselection is social proof. It is the instinctive assumption that if other women want him, he must have value. Women are not attracted to what men say they are. Women are attracted to what men are demonstrated to be. If a man is desired, it suggests he has traits worth selecting for: confidence, competence, social intelligence, emotional stability, sexual experience, status, masculine presence. This is why a man who struggles to get attention often stays stuck. He has no social proof. He looks unchosen. He looks untested. Meanwhile, the man who already has women around him becomes even more magnetic. He looks vetted. He looks safe. He looks proven. Preselection is not a conspiracy. It is a shortcut. The brain is constantly looking for signs of value, and desire from others is one of the loudest signals. 80-20 rule. Basically, the 80-20 rule suggests that roughly 20% of men receive the attention of around 80% of women. This happens because many women are not truly attracted to average men and would rather compete for an upper-tier man than settle for someone they perceive as just okay. This becomes problematic because it creates an uneven dating market. The average man struggles to get consistent interest, while high-value men receive an overwhelming amount of attention and options. Over time, this imbalance concentrates most dating opportunities at the top, leaving the majority of men fighting over what remains. In other words, the modern dating market does not operate like a fair distribution. It operates like a skewed marketplace, where a small percentage of men dominate the majority of female desire. Briffault's Law. Briffault's Law is a quote/idea often used in red pill/relationship discourse. The core idea: the female, not the male, determines all the conditions of the animal family. Robert Briffault, early 1900s. What people mean when they use it today. In modern internet terms, it usually gets simplified into: women decide whether a relationship continues. Women set the standards for what counts as acceptable male behavior. A man's effort is only valued if the woman approves of it. The red pill version, most common. You'll often hear it phrased like, women don't love men for what they sacrifice. They love men for what they provide and how they make them feel. So it becomes a warning against nice guy behavior, overinvesting, thinking loyalty or sacrifice guarantees love. Important note: Briffault wasn't writing a dating manual. He was writing anthropology about family structures in animals and humans, but the quote got adopted into modern relationship theory. Perfect, because female solipsism is one of those red pill terms that sounds philosophical, but it's really a dating/psychology label. Female solipsism. In red pill circles, female solipsism means a woman tends to experience reality mainly through her own feelings in the moment and assumes those feelings are the truth. So if she feels something, it becomes real to her even if the facts don't support it. The core idea, simplified. Feelings equals reality, mood equals truth, current emotion overrides past events, narrative changes based on how she feels now. Example 1. The past gets rewritten. Yesterday. You're the best guy I've ever dated. Today, after an argument. You've always been selfish and never cared about me. Red pill interpretation. She isn't lying on purpose. She's rewriting reality based on emotion. Example 2. Intent doesn't matter. You did something nice. She interprets it as controlling, so now you're controlling, even if your intent was genuinely good. Example 3. Status shifts perception. If she's attracted to you, your confidence equals strong, your boundaries equals masculine, your directness equals honest. If she loses attraction, your confidence equals arrogant, your boundaries equals cold, your directness equals mean. Same behavior, different emotional lens. Why red pill guys talk about it. They use it to explain things like why logic doesn't win arguments, why apologies sometimes don't fix things, why women can flip suddenly from loving to cold, why consistency doesn't guarantee stability. And it ties into Briffault's law because the implication is, if she feels differently, the relationship conditions change. Hamstering. Hamstering is the mental process of spinning a story after the feeling has already been decided. It is not usually a conscious lie. It is closer to a self-justification mechanism where emotion comes first and logic is recruited afterward. In practice, the conclusion is already set. Attraction drops, comfort disappears, or doubt enters the picture. Then the mind begins searching for a clean explanation that feels rational, socially acceptable, and morally defensible. The person experiencing it may fully believe the explanation, even if it contradicts what they said last week, last month, or even yesterday. At its core, hamstering is justifying your own behavior. It is the mind protecting the ego from discomfort. Instead of admitting, I changed my mind, or I don't feel the same, it generates reasons that make the decision feel consistent, fair, and unavoidable. This is why arguments rarely change outcomes. You are not debating facts. You are debating a narrative built to support a pre-existing emotional state. The hamster runs until it finds a reason that fits, and once it finds one, that reason becomes the official truth. Absolutely, and you're on the right track with the concept. I'll turn what you wrote into a clean Kindle-style chapter that keeps your original meaning but makes it sharper, more structured, and more readable. Attention as currency in orbiters. Attention is one of the most powerful social currencies in male-female dynamics. For many women, attention functions like a drug. The more you give, the more she gets used to it. And the moment you reduce it, she feels the absence and begins to crave it. This is why attention must be used sparingly, strategically, and intentionally. If you constantly shower her with attention, you lose value in her eyes. If you withdraw attention completely, you risk her moving on. The key is control. Attention must be earned, not given away. A man who gives unlimited attention communicates something very specific. He has nothing else going on. He is emotionally dependent. He has no options. He is easy to manipulate, and women can sense this quickly. But when you're not constantly feeding her attention, it sends a different message. You are busy. You have a mission. You have standards. You have a life outside of her. This doesn't just raise your value with women, it raises your value in every social circle. Beta orbiters. Most women have beta orbiters. These are men who hover around her life with no real romantic future, but still provide emotional validation, compliments, and constant engagement. She has no intention of committing to them, but she keeps them around because they serve a purpose. Orbiters are typically the guy friend who's always available, the emotional support simp, the constant texter, the man who does favors hoping it will turn into sex later. These men often believe that if they stay loyal long enough, one day she will finally see him differently. They're waiting for their moment. They're praying for an opening, the orbiter fantasy. Orbiters live in a delusion. If I'm nice enough, patient enough, supportive enough, eventually she'll choose me. But the truth is simpler. He is not a romantic option. He is a source of attention. He is a free resource. And in many cases, he's being used as a backup plan. Treat attention like currency. Attention should be treated like money. You don't throw money at strangers, you don't reward bad behavior, and you don't invest in something that gives you nothing back. Instead, you use attention as a tool. Reward good behavior, withdraw from bad behavior, invest only where you see respect and reciprocity. This is not cruelty, this is self-respect. Reward and punish. If a woman behaves well, respects you, and adds value to your life, attention becomes a reward. If she disrespects you, plays games, or tests your boundaries, attention must be reduced. Not through emotional outbursts, not through begging, not through arguments, just through calm withdrawal. Attention is the lever, and the man who controls it controls the frame. Monk mode. Monk mode in the RP space is a tactic used to recalibrate your life. It usually becomes necessary when things start slipping. You might be eating like trash, skipping workouts, wasting time online, or socializing with people who drag you down. Maybe you're constantly at bars, chasing validation, or distracting yourself instead of building. The point of monk mode is to temporarily remove yourself from those distractions. It means becoming somewhat of a hermit for a short period of time so you can get your life back in order. That does not mean disappearing forever. It does not mean isolating yourself permanently. The goal is not to escape the world. The goal is to reset yourself. Monk mode is typically done for 3 to 6 months. During that time, you focus heavily on the fundamentals. Fix your diet, fix your sleep, fix your fitness, fix your finances, fix your habits, fix your mindset. You reduce social noise, you cut off energy drains, you stop chasing women, you stop chasing attention, you redirect all that energy into yourself, but you must be careful not to prolong it. If you isolate for too long, you risk becoming socially awkward, emotionally detached, or overly comfortable alone. The purpose of monk mode is growth through temporary isolation, not permanent withdrawal from life. It is a strategic retreat. You pull back to rebuild, then you re-enter stronger. Monk mode is not about hiding, it is about sharpening. Conclusion: by now, you should see that none of these concepts exist in isolation. SMV connects to fitness, fitness connects to discipline, discipline connects to frame, frame connects to outcome independence, outcome independence connects to abundance, abundance prevents overinvestment, overinvestment destroys leverage. Everything loops. The red pill is not about bitterness, anger, or blaming women. It is about understanding incentives, psychology, and market dynamics. It is about self-development first. The strongest position is always internal. Build your body, build your finances, build your mindset, build your social skills, build your purpose. Then everything else becomes easier. Geography can amplify value, confidence can amplify delivery, mystery can amplify intrigue, push/pull can amplify emotion. But without internal strength, none of it holds. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about sharpening who you already are. Master the concepts. Apply them intelligently. Stay disciplined. Stay self-aware. And remember, strategy without action is fantasy. If you are serious about applying these principles to your own life, I am open for consultations. Contact burnoutmail@gmail.com. Build yourself first, the rest follows.